Well, we think it's important to recognize people who are making significant headway and progress and really exemplifying freedom. And as we look at the people that we honor for this particular award, there aren't too many people who can meet the standards. Very few, as a matter of fact. And so what we do are look for people who are exemplary and on a universal and global level who we think rise to the level of really iconic figures as far as freedom is concerned.
Honoring trailblazers for freedom, how the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center recognizes generations of freedom fighters. Plus, remembering a Cincinnati baseball icon.
Marty has said he's the biggest Cincinnati sports icon, bigger than Oscar Robertson, bigger than Pete Rose, and I agree. I agreed with him then, and now since I've done this book to see how universally beloved this man was and still is today, it's amazing.
The old left-hander, Joe Nuxhall. That and much more on this edition of Let's Talk Cincy.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Nelson Mandela once said, to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Those words hold true for the mission of the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center right here in Cincinnati. Hello, everyone. I'm Curtis Fuller, and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. 4 champions of civil rights will receive the center's highest honor, the International Freedom Conductors Award. Our Lacey Roberts has more on the recipients and the gala where they will be honored.
The National Underground Railroad Freedom Center is known for its display of celebrating civil rights heroes, those who were dedicated to fighting for freedom throughout history. But what about recognition for those who are actively continuing to fight?
It's called the International Freedom Conductors Award, and it is going to be October 16th at the Duke Energy Convention Center. Starting around 6 o'clock, and it is we've got a great lineup of honorees that we'll be celebrating that evening.
The first International Freedom Conductors Award was given to civil rights icon Rosa Parks in 1998.
And it's been a while since you guys have had this.
Yeah, the last one was 2016. You know, we normally try to have these on a 3-year cycle because it takes a lot of work to pull it off, and we don't have too many people who can meet the standard who are qualified for the criteria that we set for this award.
Past recipients include South African Bishop Desmond Tutu and former Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton. Woodrow Keon, president of the Freedom Center, says this is an event you don't want to miss, and not because of who will be there, but why.
Well, you want to come if you believe in freedom, and if you want to understand the work that people who have pioneered and made a way for so many others over the years have done it, and why they do it. I think it's very inspiring stories that you'll hear. For example, this year we are recognizing and honoring the late Congressman John Lewis. Who can argue with what he did in terms of promoting freedom, voting rights, but yet we still have this issue of voting rights today that we're dealing with. And so it shows you that this journey of freedom is a long journey, and it takes a lot of people over many generations to continue to take it forward. And what we want to do is inspire people who are here today to become those conductors, become those abolitionists, to continue to take this effort forward around freedom.
Other honorees include actor, global humanitarian, and Lexington, Kentucky native George Clooney, his wife, international human rights attorney Amal Clooney, who represents victims of human rights violations, and Brian Stevenson, the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative. His work challenges the inequities of the criminal justice system.
Why is this so important to have this event?
Well, we think it's important to recognize people who are making significant headway and progress and really exemplifying freedom. And as we look at the people that we honor for this particular award, there aren't too many people who can meet the standards. Very few, as a matter of fact. And so what we do are look for people who are exemplary and on a universal and global level who we think rise to the level of really iconic figures as far as freedom is concerned. And we basically honor them and recognize them for their work, their outstanding contributions, because we think they exemplify the spirit and the courage, cooperation, perseverance that was demonstrated by the conductors on the Underground Railroad Freedom Center.
The 2020 gala was canceled because of the coronavirus. Organizers say the pandemic played a major role in plans for this year. For health and safety concerns, adjustments made include vaccination proof and socially distant seating.
And COVID is still here, but you guys are still moving forward because it's just that important to recognize this.
It is. It's very important to do it, but also we think we have a way to do it in a safe and responsible way. We have developed through discussions with our board, through our gala committee, our executive committee. We've got some safety protocols that we have put in place and have implemented and have communicated to as many people as we've been able to reach out to at this point in time around what our safety requirements are, our safety protocols are. And basically, we're going to require everybody attending to help demonstrate proof of vaccination, and we're going to be recommending masks for the event.
A live stream option is available if you can't attend in person. You can register through the Freedom Center's website, noting you would like to attend virtually. Lacey Roberts reporting for Let's Talk Cincy.
And knowing the fight for freedom is a long journey, the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center actively challenges and inspires everyone to get involved in the current struggles of today. Well, up next, remembering a longtime community servant and what the city of Cincinnati is doing to remember his legacy. Linwood Battle was a captain in the U.S. Army stationed in the Panama Canal Zone and also in Vietnam. 3 decades at Procter & Gamble, serving as the company's manager of diversity, a tireless community servant, serving on several boards, including the Cincinnati Public School Board. The family business, one of the oldest funeral homes in the city, J.C. Battle & Sons. And he had a defining moment at The Ohio State University. Linwood passed away in August at the age of 78. The city will now name a street in his honor.
He was a quiet giant. When he moved, you didn't necessarily see him moving, but you saw the remnants of what he moved toward and what he did while he had his movements. Because he was such a humble man, but very optimistic about everything, even our business. Even about when he was in P&G, if things would go wrong, he could see the glass half full, even here at the funeral home. And that encouraged me to keep moving forward, even though we had some downtimes. But he kept pushing me forward. When you saw one J.C. Battle and Sons Funeral Home, you saw both battles. We worked together as a team, and we made sure that we were there for our families, you know, as two brothers, you know, helping other people to celebrate the transition of their loved one. And now, after 40-some years working together, it's almost like my right arm has been cut off. But I know that he's on my shoulder. I know he's in my ears whispering, telling me to suck it up, brother. But, you know, as God has probably carved off a portion of our family tree, we still have deep roots in the family, in the community, in the state of Ohio, you know. Is the tapestry we got for President Obama back in 2008, and we sent it up to the White House. And you know, like they had the Three Amigos, we call ourselves the Band of Battle Brothers, all three of us. And that's what we are. We really like that. We show people our dedication to our country, to our state, and to our community, and to our family. And that means family. The secondary name, we just came from the City Hall, and they just passed the ordinance that it was 9-0, you know, in favor of it. And each one of the council members had a comment, a beautiful comment to share about Linwood. And that really impressed me, you know. But the name will be Linwood L. Battle Jr. Way, and that will take place in the next couple of weeks, probably on a Friday. They're going to set the date and get back with me so we can have the dedication and the unveiling of that secondary street, which will be right in front of the funeral home at Rockdale and Washington, where we've been here since 1959. And I like to tell the story that when people leave out of the back of the funeral home or the front, a lot of them turn around and say, "Thanks for staying. We didn't leave the Dale."
He dotted the I at
the Ohio State in 1963 and 64.
First African American to do
First
that?
African American. And when he was in the hospital, a gentleman called and said, I've been texting Linwood and he hasn't been returning my call. I said, well, he's been in the hospital. He said, well, you give the message to him that I called and I was the drum major that led him over to where he was going to dot the I. I said, he was the first African American to dot the I. He said, yes, you're right. But we were the first integrated team to do that. He said, I'm white, he was black, but we didn't talk about that then. It was the honor of dotting the I.
You know, Linwood was a good friend. He is survived by his 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren and his 3 siblings. Well, next, celebrating the old left-hander, a new book about Reds legend Joe Nuxhall, conversations and great memories when Let's Talk Cincy continues. Joe Nuxhall, he was a special guy. He loved the Reds and this community. He had many stories as both a player and broadcaster. Local journalist John Kieswater captured some of those stories in a new book called The Old Left-Hander and Me.
I knew when I left the Inquirer I was going to write a book. And I kicked around a couple of different topics, and one was about the local broadcasters and people I've met. And I started writing a Marty and Joe chapter and realized I had an awful lot of material about Joe and could do a book about Joe with a lot of entertaining stories, a lot of the stuff that went on in the booth and behind the scenes things like that wasn't in his book. So I thought, okay, let's go for it.
He really was a unique character, a figure in Cincinnati and really throughout the country.
I wouldn't call him a figure, I'd call him an icon. I mean, Marty has said he's the biggest Cincinnati sports icon, bigger than Oscar Robertson, bigger than Pete Rose, and I agree. I agreed with him then, and now since I've done this book to see how universally beloved this man was and still is today, it's amazing that Marty makes a point that all the years he knew Joe, and since then, no one, not one person has ever said a bad word about Joe. I mean, most people can tell a story about meeting him at the ballpark or seeing him at a dinner or a lunch somewhere around Fairfield. Well, he loved this city, and in fact, you know, he pitched for the Reds from 52 to 60 and then got traded, missed the 61 series when the Reds went to the World Series, came back in 62 and pitched till spring training of 67. At the end of the 66 season, he was 6-8, 38 years old, and Wiedemann had approached him about joining the booth. It was going to be a 3-man booth, but they wanted an ex-player who could tell stories. And I make the point in the book, when you account for Marty telling stories about Joe all the way to his last week on the air in 2019, 1944 to 2019, that's 75 years. That's half the franchise that there's been a presence of Joe Nuxhall.
We know Marty's iconic calls. Talk about some of Joe's most memorable calls.
There's 2 that jump out. Well, we talk about Marty's iconic calls. First of all, we got to talk about Joe in the background shouting, "Get out of here, get out of here." Or on Pete Rose's 492, "Get down, get down." There it is.
His signature is rounding third, headed for home. How did that even, did he ever talk about where that came from?
There was a coach on the Reds in 67, in the mid-60s, who said, "Joe, you got to have a sign-off. Why don't you do something like, this is the old left-hander, rounding third and heading for home." So he did it for a while, and then he thought it was pretty corny. He really didn't like it. He thought, I don't know, it wasn't him. So he stopped doing it. All of a sudden he starts getting mail saying, "Hey, you stopped doing that old left-hander." And so he goes back to doing it because the fans wanted it.
I know you love putting this book together, but you also have a purpose that this is going to support the legacy of Joe Nuxhall.
There's a chapter in there about his legacy, and 2 of them that are close to my heart. One is the Joe Nuxhall Scholarship Fund. So since 1985, the Nuxhall Foundation has given away scholarships to high school seniors in Butler County, and it's grown to 28 scholarships or 14. It depends on if they do a 2 or 1 per school. So $28,000 a year. And after 36 years, they're almost to $900,000 in the honor of a guy that never went to college. To me, that's pretty amazing. The other thing is called the Joe Nuxhall Miracle League fields. It's 2 fields side by sides in Fairfield for the developmentally disabled people to play baseball, play the game that Joe loved, play the game that they probably thought until 10 years ago maybe they couldn't play.
And you got the biggest endorsement from Marty.
Marty read it, and he put on Instagram, if you love Joe Nuxhall as much as I do, you've got to get this book. So that was high praise. A reporter friend of mine who I've known 40 years, he said, you know, when you said you're going to write a book about Nuxhall, I said, what more is there to learn about Joe Nuxhall? I said, I read your book, and I learned plenty. You found plenty of things that I didn't know, and it's the best baseball book I've read this year.
You know, John told me a portion of the proceeds from that book will be donated to the Joe Nuxhall Foundation. Well, let's move from celebrating a legendary Reds player and broadcaster to celebrating a Cincinnati neighborhood that is becoming a destination place. Some will tell you there was a time when many communities, including Walnut Hills, were being abandoned and forgotten. But now this community is, shall we say, putting its best foot forward.
Walnut Hills is a tremendous neighborhood that welcomed us from our very first conversations before we even broke ground, and they've been extremely supportive about what this means for Walnut Hills, what this means for a new gateway to the arts.
With construction in full swing in the area, some might say this moment has been choreographed for the past 40 years. The vision of the Walnut Hills Redevelopment Foundation is all about enhancing the quality of life and being inclusive.
We are at the foothill of Eden Park. You can reach out and touch the Art Museum just up the hill. We are just yards away from the Art Walk. The history here is just very, very, very deep.
Gary Lehman is the owner of the Pickled Pig. He opened this restaurant 3 years ago. He calls the arts part of the renaissance we've witnessed in this neighborhood with new housing and new businesses.
It brings another large piece to the neighborhood. It's going to draw people here. It looks very nice. The building came up, looks good. It just adds value.
Jeremiah Griswold purchased a building for his tattoo business and home. It had been boarded up for more than 30 years.
There's a lot of really great energy in this community. We have folks who fly in from all over the country. So yeah, it's a wonderful community.
It is a wonderful community, and if you haven't been to Walnut Hills in a while, folks there will tell you, stop on by. You know, it's living up to a vision of being inclusive, even in the arts, from a cafe filled with jazz to, of course, the great Cincinnati Ballet. Well, helping high school students to soar, how a cross-river collaboration is setting up teenagers for a brighter future. That story when Let's Talk Cincy returns. You'll like this story. Kenton County students are launching their futures in aviation with a new cross-river collaboration. See, high schoolers are starting their journey to becoming fully certified drone pilots. Miana Massey takes us inside this program that just kicked off this school year.
A partnership between Cincinnati State and Kenton County School District is turning young scholars into aviation professionals.
15 high school juniors selected from Dixie Heights, Scott, and Simon Kenton High Schools are learning all about airplane mechanics and how to fly drones.
We got lucky enough that it came across our school, and I heard about it when I was in English class, and I was like, yes, that's what I want to do.
Michaela Lowe from Scott High School is one of just 2 girls in the program.
I got kind of nervous at first because all of the boys, and I didn't want to be the only girl.
But she has no problem creating a lane of her own.
The boys treat me like I'm any other boy. I get treated equally as them. It's no different.
The program has been around for more than 50 years, and this is the first time they've welcomed high school students. Trevor Miller comes from Dixie Heights. He says this program is opening doors for students like him.
Yeah, I feel really special being a part of this because there's only 15 spots and I got one of them.
Each morning, students take the journey over the Ohio River to Cincinnati State's Harrison campus. That's where they spend half of their day. We were there as they were given their first drone kit.
We're going to be building our drones, then learning how to fly them. And then later on, we'll be learning how to build engines, how to take them apart and put them back up on the planes.
Each student quick to get some hands-on experience, diving into their surroundings and getting their hands dirty.
50% of the time you're actually working with your hands. You're working on aircraft, you're working on engines, you're working to basically on components and parts. And so you'll get to do 50% of that here, then the other 50% you're in a classroom.
Setting them up for a career that's in high demand, starting salaries upwards to $70,000 to $100,000.
I feel like this is a really good thing because I'm able to help all the companies that need help with our airplanes because there's now shortage with people.
The needs of the industry here locally, particularly at Greater Cincinnati Airport, with the Amazon hub being located here, they're a great need for aviation maintenance technicians. So we're hoping to build that pipeline.
Now the program spans 2 years in which these juniors would then earn 30 credits towards college. I'm Yana Massey, WLWT News 5.
What a great program, what a great partnership, huh? The goal is for students to finish this aviation program and then go on to complete additional credits over at Cincinnati State right after high school. Well, finally today, Let's Talk Cincy will soon celebrate a milestone with our 100th episode. Yeah, 100. We've talked about some challenging issues, as you know, over that time, but also we've celebrated what makes Cincinnati such a great place to live. I want you to share with us the moments from Let's Talk Cincy that moved you, made you think, or made you laugh. It could be part of our 100th episode, which will be coming up in November. All you have to do is email us your ideas. The address is ltc@wlwt.com. You know, I've thought about some of the stories that I remember the most, and we'll include some of those, of course, but I wanted to hear from you on the stories that you remember the most over 100 episodes. How about that? That does it for the program today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week for another edition of Let's Talk Cincy. Have a nice day.